Welcome back to Call Me By Your Game, the podcast where I, your host, Connor McCabe, normally bring on a guest to hear from them about a meaningful video game from their past. But today, we're actually going to be doing another co-op episode where I have on not just one person, but ideally three other people to do more of an overview episode on this game and talk about it in a pretty thorough fashion. This is a series that you can hear every single month on our Patreon. It's a perk at the $10 Engineer Toad tier, but a few people out there might know you can also hear it a week later for free on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel. Today, on co-op episode, and I'm not kidding, 69, we're going to be discussing a little game called Max Payne. A little bit of housekeeping up top is that if there's anything that my guests or I plug today on the episode, you can find links to those plugs in the show notes, wherever you're listening. So if you're watching this on YouTube or listening on our Patreon, or even in the future when this comes out on the free feed, on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, scroll down. If someone has a Twitch channel they want you to follow, a podcast, or even a social media handle that you're interested in just pursuing, I guess is how I'm going to phrase it, scroll down in the episode description. You'll find a nice group of organized links by me. And yeah, like I've already said, you could be listening to this on Patreon. Thank you so much if you're a patron. And if you're not, if you're listening to this on the free feed or on YouTube, consider checking out what we offer at our different tiers on Patreon. Folks, there's a ton of bonus video game podcasts there. One thing in particular that might interest you is that we covered a number of games in a book club style format for our Games Club series. And we have covered a game done by the company that developed Max Payne, Remedy Studios, called Control. We covered that in an 8-part series. You can check it out on Patreon, but honestly, by the time you listen to this, it's all out for free on Super NPC Games Club's feed. So just check that out there. There's a link in the show notes as well. If you are a Remedy fan, go check that out. There's 2 people from this episode who are on that series. Let's go ahead and introduce our guests for today's episode. We have an incredible panel. I don't think I've ever had exactly these 4 people on a co-op, and when I say I think, I know for certain because I've been excited about it. First, let's welcome in alphabetical order by last name, none other than Matt Apodaca.
Hello. Hi, Connie.
Welcome, buddy. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Before we bring in the other 2 guests, my pal, the 3 of you luckily today need not a huge introduction because you guys frequent this podcast. At least once a year I get you all on for a co-op, but you've been on it plenty of times. What do you want to plug really quick up top? What do you want people to know about you?
Oh, just my usual BS, my nonsense, my mother show Get Played, where I talk about video games with Nick Weiger and Heather Ann Campbell. What I actually want to plug, I feel like maybe people can get a sense of this. I saw Connor not an hour ago, basically.
It's true.
Happened to run into each other on a walk.
And it's not that we never do this. We are often running into each other on a walk because we live on the same street.
Yeah.
But we ran into each other on like about a mile away, and it just felt
not
special.
not particularly close.
No.
We were on a nice walk, and it just when the sun came out, I would say.
Yeah, true. It's been a gloomy
A
day.
little gloomy. The sun broke through.
So I love that plug for running into your friends on a walk.
Go outside.
Go outside, touch grass.
Go touch grass.
Another person I'm going to welcome in right here is someone that I'll just say it, I've never ran into on a walk, but like Matt, I have spent some time with this man and maybe even stayed in a bed with him in New York City. It's Charlie Mihelich.
Hello, Connor. It was an honor to be in a production of Max Payne by playing it.
Great callback to something that happened before the recording. Charlie.
I love those. I love those. You and I have stayed in a bed several times together. We also stayed in a bed together in San Diego,
Yes.
like 6 months ago.
I know so recently, Charlie. I think just based on us both being heavily trained comedians, I'm hoping that we fulfill the rule of 3s at some point.
I know. It needs to
Why don't you
happen
just
again.
come over anytime you want, pal?
Sounds good.
Charlie, glad to have you here, buddy. What do you want to plug before we introduce our final member of the panel?
I would like to plug my podcast, Baywatch Watch, and then you can check out the movies I've written on the Lifetime Network. You can check out there's a new killer in town, and just released last month, 10,000 Reasons for Revenge.
They sound like they could be Max Payne spin-offs
do.
in a way.
They sound like actually like Alan Wake books.
Yes, they do. That's more accurate. Absolutely. Appropriate still for this episode. Charlie, thrilled to have you on here, buddy. Last but not least, we have someone, a veteran of this series, a veteran of the network. It's Roxy Polk.
Hello, it's so good to be here. And I think we were on Alan Wake 1. You had me in for Alan Wake 1, correct?
Yes, you and I.
The third Remedy game we get to talk about.
Yes, I think I've discussed. Actually, I'm realizing that is one thing. I was excited to have all three of you on. I did ask all three of you specifically because I know that you had an affinity for Remedy's video games. So I figured, why not take a risk? Let's all try to play Max Payne, try our darndest, and get on this. Because Roxy,
Keyword.
in the fall of 2023, you and I, actually, this was the final episode of an old series on our network, Press X to Scream.
Oh my God, yeah.
Where
forgot
your
it was-
old podcast
Yeah.
that I guest hosted discussing the original Alan Wake, my introduction to Remedy. Then
Oh, that was it? That was the impetus.
that was it. Well, our friend who was on the episode with us, who Matt knows because we talked about Alan Wake 2 with her, Haley McLean, got me into Remedy by just being a fan and her talking about it on other podcasts. So Matt
Amazing.
and I, 2-3 months later, did a co-op episode on Alan Wake 2. And then Charlie, we did the Control Games Club together just about a year ago. It's airing on the free feed right now. It's all
Yeah,
there's
go listen.
I think 2 more episodes or 1 more episode to release, and it'll all be out. But Roxy, you're also on the beginning of that as well, so we get you to. I've been listening to it as it's been coming out, and you and I both on one episode have like an exchange where we're both excited about maybe playing Alan Wake. Or sorry, Alan. I'm gonna do this all day. Max Payne.
Oh, Max Payne. Okay.
Yeah. So we both talk about how we'd like to go back
Foreshadowing.
at some point. So, folks, this is kind of my dream was getting specifically the 4 of you here today. So I'm absolutely thrilled. But Roxy, I didn't really give you a chance to do a quick plug or a shout out here. What do you want people to know?
Yeah, just come hang out with me on Twitch, Red Mage Roxy. Say
Incredible.
hello. I have been playing Max Payne. I might do more Max Payne streams. We'll get to it when we talk more about it, what happened with my experience trying to figure this game out in the year 2026. But yeah, streaming all kinds of games. I streamed Alan Wake 2 for the first time actually earlier this year.
Wow.
Last year? End of last
Spooky.
year. Love it.
I remember when you were going through that. I was really, really excited for you.
I tried to stay away from spoilers for so long, and it was like 2 years.
And were you successful?
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
Somehow.
Awesome. Well, folks, we've done the introductions. On our way into the episode, we're going to start with some table setting and some context. Then we'll talk about all of our personal histories with this game and then get into the main discussion itself, talking about anything we want to share about our experience playing the game. So I'm just going to be monologuing for a little bit, but like I told all of you before the podcast, if you want to jump in with any details, any fun things you want to share, then just go ahead and do that. And guys, don't worry. I'll plow right through and ignore any sort of chats that are going on in the Zoom. You know what? It is great that I don't have to worry on the video version of this of like a little chat popping up like on Twitch, but it would be kind of funny if you had that power, Charlie. I would really like that.
Yeah.
Well,
I wish I did. I wish to God I did.
why don't we get into it right now? Max Payne is a third-person shooter video game developed by Remedy Entertainment and published by 3D Realms and Rockstar Games. It was originally released for Windows by Gathering of Developers on July 25th, 2001, and the game centers on former New York City Police Department Detective Max Payne, who attempts to solve the murder of his family while investigating a mysterious new designer drug called Valkyr. While doing so, Max becomes entangled in a large and complex conspiracy involving a major pharmaceutical company organized crime, a secret society, and the United States Armed Forces. The game features a gritty neo-noir style and uses graphic novel panels with voiceovers as its primary means of storytelling, drawing inspiration from hard-boiled detective novels. It contains allusions to Norse mythology, particularly the myth of Ragnarok. The gameplay is heavily influenced by the Hong Kong action cinema genre, particularly the work of director John Woo, which, I don't know, guys, there might even be a direct reference to that in this game. Who's to say?
Maybe even several.
Yes. And it was also one of the first games to feature the bullet time effect, or I guess mechanic, that has been used in several games, which was popularized by a little movie called The Matrix. It's really hard not to see The Matrix in so much of this, even without bullet
So
time.
I have a little trivia for this. This point actually to
I'm sorry,
interrupt
is this
Connor.
Roxy's trivia corner?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Hold
First
on,
ever.
let's check. Connor, can somebody else say something?
Mm, let me think about it.
My hands up, please, please. Ooh, me.
Okay, Roxy, do you have something to say?
Yeah, actually, production of this game predates The Matrix by 2 years. So
Ooh.
Max Payne was doing bullet time before The Matrix, but The Matrix released before Max Payne. So
Yes.
everybody gives credit to The Matrix, but it's actually Max Payne.
I
Yeah.
read that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, funny coincidence. It's I feel like we'll often see in media, whether it be like movies, TV, what have you, even some video games, narrative elements that will be baking at the same time, and you'll see like two movies that come out, and you're like, wow, those
Yeah.
are incredibly similar presents, but it's cool to see like a mechanic that's kind of used in that way.
I think I always wondered about the tit for tat with the Matrix, because towards the end of the game, all of the lobby sequences going through like with columns everywhere, going through all this stuff is like very much the Matrix building siege. And but then, you know, like Max Payne started development beforehand, so I always wonder how much they like were like, oh, I love that, let's put that in.
I think because it came out like halfway through development, like they definitely put references in there. There's
Yeah.
so many little movie references. Like one of the early ones too that surprised me was a Buffy reference. But there's so many like TV show and movie references, whether it's like a one-liner or like a little set dressing thing or like literally the lobby from The Matrix
Yeah.
or something.
Yes. Yeah. There's sometimes subtle moments like that, and then very explicit in your face moments like that for sure. Just a few more details here is that Max Payne was ported by Rockstar Canada for the PlayStation 2 and also to the Xbox later in December 2001, so months later. Also, this game, I'm realizing it came out in July of 2001, and you can tell because there are some like a lot
Twin
of games
Towers
right?
pictures.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
the
Twin
menu
Towers.
screen, I think.
Yes, kind of unavoidable. There was also a version of the game released for the Game Boy Advance, featuring
That is
sort of
so
like
wild.
it's crazy. Has anyone seen footage of this?
Yeah.
I need to look it up. I have not.
It's isometric.
Oh,
yeah.
weird.
It's reminiscent to me of so many games of that era, which would they've got 3D models on the GBA, but it's always that perspective. It's like this is a totally different game. Tony Hawk 2.
Oh.
Yes. It kind of looks like that a little bit. I even
I'm
had like
imagining Hotline Miami vibes before
Except
Hotline Miami.
Hotline Miami is more like top down. This is literally diagonal.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess you did say isometric, so yeah.
Yeah.
There's also like some Star Wars and Lord of the Rings action games from the era that that function similarly. I guess it, retained most of the original gameplay elements. It's obviously a like shrunken down version of the game. But there's still comic panels, there's voiceover, there's sound effects that are reminiscent music, but there are things that they can't really show, like cutscenes. The few cutscenes we do get, like the helicopter opening sequence, is not featured in that game. Let's see. Lastly, is that this game received very positive reviews from critics at the time and is considered an incredibly influential title for both its gameplay, but also the way that it narratively goes about sort of pulling its strings. It was followed by a sequel, Max Payne 2, also which is called The Fall of Max Payne, in 2003, also developed by Remedy. But then Max Payne 3 was developed by its publisher, Rockstar. I have never played either of those two games. Have you guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Max Payne 3, I don't know if you remember this, but when I was on a VGACS episode of our top 10 games of all time, Max Payne 3 is on my top 10 of all time, along with Control. So I have the mix of both the Remedy and the Rockstar.
Oh.
Yes. And then I've also played Max Payne 2 and revisited some of it for this episode.
Okay.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
I forgot that you did that, Charlie. Matt was even on that. That was actually an episode of Call Me by Your Game.
Oh, yeah.
But
Can
Matt
I
was
ask
on.
how that runs? Because I got like a whole Remedy bundle when I bought Alan Wake 2, and so that's
Max
how
Payne 2 or Max Payne 3?
Max Payne, I guess Max Payne 2, since it's also like PlayStation 2 era. Was
Max
it
Payne
about
2
the same?
runs fine. It's
Okay.
like, and
Just out of the
it's like
gate?
it's significantly technically more impressive than Max Payne 1. I think the budget was a lot bigger.
Makes sense.
What is kind of weird is that for both Max Payne 2 and 3, they ditched Sam Lake as the face model. And so it is like Max has a distinct look in 2 and 3. I mean, by 3,
weird.
Sam Lake was not going to do Rockstar's Max Payne because he had lost
Sure.
the rights to this thing he'd created.
Yeah,
But
it's not even
for
a Remedy
2
game, is it? 3?
No, 3 is
Yeah.
not. And I have obviously, if it's in my top 10 games of all time, I have a lot of very positive things to say about Max Payne 3, but there are criticisms levied at it for its departure in a couple ways from the Remedy formula.
Interesting. That one I'm seeing here came out in May 2012. But before that, there was actually a loose film adaptation of the game that came out in 2008 starring Mark Wahlberg and Mila Kunis. Something that we found out before the show none of us have ever seen. And the last
Movie
thing I have-
night.
yeah, nothing I'd rather see in the world than Max Payne. But
Here it's great.
yeah,
Yeah,
Very
I think
faithful.
I've heard
the reason
really
I
good
haven't-
things.
One of the reasons I haven't watched it is that I heard how good it is.
yes.
I know, just too good. I wouldn't.
It'll
handle
spoil
it.
other films for me.
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to make it the last movie I ever see just for that reason.
Yeah.
Smart.
The last little detail I have is that in 2022, it was announced that Remedy is developing remakes of the first two Max Payne titles. I don't believe we've heard any news about this since.
It's been like years.
Yeah, it's
too.
been, I guess, 3.5, 4 years since they.
I have a feeling after Control 2, maybe we'll start hearing more about it because
Sure.
they had to be
And
so focused on
James
that.
McCaffrey died, the
Yes.
voice of Max
Yeah.
Payne.
It's true. Since then, so
Such a
Yeah.
bummer.
yeah. So
Alan
maybe,
Wake 2, I think, was his last screen
Yeah.
appearance total, not just
Mm.
game, I think.
Yeah.
wow.
It's one of my biggest pet peeves in gaming, honestly, is when they're like, we're starting development on X game. I'm like, okay, great. There's like a 70% chance that game's not coming
Yeah.
out. Why are you telling me this? You haven't even started making it. Like,
I've
you're
been
like,
hearing about Rocksteady
Yeah.
making a new Batman Arkham game
Yeah.
for ever.
they just did it with they're supposedly remaking God of War 1, 2, and 3, and they're like,
Oh my God,
they're
all
beginning
three?
development.
I couldn't
And I'm
believe
like,
that was the
you're
announcement.
They
I was
don't
like, it's
need
not
to
true.
do that.
Gosh.
Those guys, I mean, like I would say,
yeah.
especially 2 and 3. I think you could remake 1. 1's the most dated
Yeah.
of all of them, but like 3 is like I play it like once a year on my PS5, like the remaster. It's so good.
They play great, but it's kind of
Yeah.
just like being like, if I was to say to you, hey guys, I'm gonna make lasagna in like 2 months.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
not do it.
Is that the
It
second
boosts the
lasagna
hype can
reference
die
on
down,
this
so-
episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, boost the stock price. Oh yeah, this is
Yeah.
Matt's new fixation because the ref at his baseball game had to go home to make his lasagna.
Yes, that's what
You
it
know what
was.
it is?
That makes
I've been
sense.
thinking a lot about.
You're
I've been-
hungry.
I'm in my-
It's 5
He's been thinking
o'clock.
about Garfield, and that's okay.
I'm in my Sebastian Maniscalco era.
A lasagna.
My mom's lasagna.
I can't blame you. It's currently 5:36. We're all so excited for this to be over to actually go eat dinner. Do any of you?
I'm wearing a bib and holding a fork and knife.
Yeah. As soon as you log off, you're not even hitting stop record. You're just
No,
jumping into some
I'm
lasagna.
gonna manja.
Folks, do any of you have any details, anything else you picked up, or any clarifications you want to make about just the history and context of this first game or the larger universe?
I'd say for me, I obviously had heard of Max Payne growing up, never played it, always seemed kind of cool to me. But I guess I didn't know that it was 100% like this. Like I knew about the bullet time, of course, and I knew it was like a crime sort of story, but I guess I just didn't know how crazy it was. 'Cause like my
Yeah.
exposure to it's more Remedy than I would have realized, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
Like it's like I played through Alan Wake and then I played Control and then I played Alan Wake 2 maybe about 6 months after it came out, maybe less than that, but sometime after it came out, and was just like obviously obsessed with like how those stories are interconnected and stuff like that. But had no frame of reference for Max Payne at all, and just tended to go back and be like, "Oh, they've always been like this." Like
Yes, that's
actually
been one of the
really
coolest
cool.
parts.
I think,
Yeah.
that's what Sam Lake has always wanted to do. Weirdly, this is the only game in the Remedy universe to reference Norse mythology. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, not a one in any of the other titles.
Yeah, never comes up again, including the fact that the guy who like runs the government program has an eye patch like
Yes.
Odin.
Yes, and I think his name
His
is
last name is
Woden.
Woden.
Yeah,
Yes.
Woden. Yeah, Woden.
Yeah, I was
Extremely
surprised about
good.
I was surprised about that too, Matt. I'm pumped to talk about a little bit. There's more I even want to dive into on that in the main chat, but
Yeah.
I was not privy to things as well of like the comic book paneling being the primary way that they get through the narrative.
Yes.
I wasn't aware of, like you were getting into, the sort of Remedy specialties that they still do today, and you can see seeds of it or just explicit examples of that as well.
Even the fake TV
Also-
shows. That was
yeah.
such like a little aside extra thing that they didn't have to do. And I'm like, they've
Yeah.
always been doing that. What a
That's
weird
the
little
thing that
cute
I remember
signature.
most about these games is the
Really?
fake TV shows. Yes. And the fact that that was something that I remember like in 2001 being at my friend's house and just sitting there and like watching them all because I'd never seen a game do that. And then the next game to do that actually wasn't a Remedy game. It was this game called The Darkness. Has anyone ever played that?
I
Oh.
remember hearing that.
Where you have the little monster and like there are these but there are like entire 90-minute movies that you can like sit
Whoa.
and watch that are in the game. But then, Remedy, of course, continued to do it as the series went on. But also, I do want to point out that this was 2001. In 2000, did the Patriots, no, what's it called?
Metal
Sons of
Gear?
Liberty. Did Sons of Liberty come out in 2002?
2001, but like
2001.
November. So this actually predates by having the sequence in which Max gets the two letters, one telling him that he's in a graphic novel and two telling him that he's in a computer game.
Yeah.
And then him talking about the HUD popping up and him seeing all the weapons and stuff like that. And I was like, that was meta stuff, because I thought it was crazy that Metal Gear did it back in 2001. And this game did it several months before.
Yeah, it's truly 4 months before this
Yeah.
game comes out.
Have Sam Lake and Kojima ever met? Because I kind of really want to see them have a chat.
I'm sure
They
I've seen
haven't.
them do the
Yeah.
little coffee thing they
Coffee
do on
thing.
Instagram. But I hold them in the same
Yes.
regard. Like I love them both so much. And I'm always like, I'm excited how much of these games seem like they're like his thing, like, you know what I mean? Like obviously he
Yeah.
works with like
Yeah.
a talented team and stuff like that, but like Sam's kind of just like all over it. Like, I know you're joking about like the Norse mythology stuff, but I was in Alan Wake 2 was very into the folklore stuff
Yeah.
more than I was like talking about Huldras and things like that. I was like, because I had never heard any of that stuff. So I like that stuff like was just interesting to me, because he was just like, oh, I'm just gonna get this I'm going to introduce people to this aspect of our culture through this.
Yeah.
And it was very, very cool to me. I love it.
I feel like you don't get to see that as much with games, especially like back then, because there's such a huge team of people working on it. But like to be able to kind of discern a specific artistic voice from it and like see references or little plot contrivances or things that they like that keep popping up in their media, they iterate on, maybe expand on and stuff. And especially going back to play this after playing other later Remedy games, being able to see that and see like little seeds of it, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. It is actually the biggest tragedy that maybe, well, hyperbolically, of course, but it's the biggest tragedy that David Lynch didn't live long enough to get scanned by either of these guys. God. It would be so sick if he was in like Death Stranding 2.
Oh my God.
That would be amazing.
What we do need is for the remake of Max Payne 1 and 2. It's Kojima's face on him in Max Payne 1 and not Sam Lake.
Yeah, there we go.
Anymore. Yeah, I maybe
Finally.
didn't even say it up here in this history and context, but he was the lead writer on this game. I found out by watching some videos about the development of this title that he was brought in by Remedy during the making of their first game. Let me look up the name. It's called like
Death a truck
Rally?
Thing? Yeah.
I want to say it's called like Death Rally, something like that. But he was brought in because he knew someone on the dev team. He was Sam, Jesus, was a literature student at a university in Helsinki. And let's see if I can find their first game here. And he was brought in to do voices, for Death Rally. So that's kind of how he got brought in there. And then for Alan Wake, I can't believe I'm going to be doing this all day. Max Payne, when they were developing this game, before they had the full idea for it, it was just known as like, in their heads, was an action shooter game, but was even, they thought would also be from like a top-down perspective. 3D was, coming in full force, after 1996 and actually earlier in the 90s. And so they decided to make it a third-person action game inspired with a little bit of inspiration from like Tomb Raider, they say.
Yeah.
Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider. And Lara Croft, I think, is the lead character. But Sam was brought in and I guess really helped shape the story. And they had some very loose ideas, but nothing super concrete.
It's kind of lucky that they brought this guy in and then he also kind of just looks like that. And they're like, hey, you should be the guy in the game.
You should look
I think so many characters are just guys from The Office.
Yeah.
It's just like, we just need more people. Do you have a friend, a family member who could
Every person in Max Payne 2 that was in this game, because Vlad is a big character in Max Payne 2, Mona's a big character in Max Payne 2, all different face models. And they're real 3D. It's because they're actual 3D polygonal rather than face scans.
Yes.
Makes sense.
On the subject, maybe I'm glad you said something about that. Some really important history and context is how groundbreaking of a technical achievement this game was at the time and how the way people would talk about it back in the day, that it was not only technically impressive what they were doing with bullet time, the action, the bullets actually modeling themselves when you shoot them. It's not just like a JPEG.
Tracing.
Yeah. I'll go with that because I wouldn't have been able to put it into words, Charlie. It was not only impressive on a technical level, but graphically, people talked about this game like, oh my gosh, it's amazing what this game is doing. When now I think it's really easy to look at this game and be not just unimpressed, but be like, this kind of looks like crap. But I can still appreciate it this is probably more of a discussion for later, but just at the time, it's important to know that this was a big deal back then. You're gonna say
also,
something,
the fact that, because the game does, kind of look like shit just because of its age. Great for the time. But the fact that there are many objectives in this game that you would only be able to solve by reading stuff that's on the walls. And a lot of it is in kind of like low-res text and stuff. And so the confidence to design your levels thinking that someone will see that and be like, oh, okay, you have to do this in order to open this door. Like it'll say like you have to, this door must be closed for this one to be open. It's like, but games before that, everything that was on the walls, especially a 3D modeled stuff, was like you just ignored it because it was all so blurry, low res.
Yeah, you
stuff.
couldn't like read it. One of the things
Yeah.
I was impressed by like playing the Steam version is how clear everything
It's
is. It's
legible,
been
yeah.
up-resed. I was like, yeah, just a little newspaper on the ground. I can read the headline title of
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really impressive.
it. PlayStation
and-
2 version, I'm sure you could not see that at all. I'm sure.
Sure.
Well, you
I should-
probably
a mess.
up-resed yours, right? Yours is probably
Yeah, I was playing
with
it.
the emulator.
I was playing it on my Ein Thor, and
Oh, okay.
I did
appropriate
up-res
for
it.
this game.
Yes, yeah. I was wearing an eye patch when I was playing too, and but I up-resed it with the PS2 emulator that I was
Oh,
playing
cool.
on. Yeah,
Nice.
it still looked insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
and a little bit smaller because it was handheld screen size, but it was I did it.
I think on the subject, it'll be coming back. We'll be coming back to that a lot, I think, or at least I will be talking a lot about the context of which this game was received at first versus today, our experiences today going through, because there's just so much to say.
Yeah.
Before we jump into it in a really heavy way, I quickly want to go through our personal histories with the game. Matt, let me start with you. You gave us a little preview of like being aware of Max Payne, but
Yeah.
did you know about this game when it came out? Did you ever see it? And when did you first play it?
Well, I remember hearing about it. I think it was I was probably like 11 when it came out, right? And then when did Grand Theft Auto 3 come out? 2002?
I think it was the same. Was it the same year or the next year?
2001? I was a Grand Theft
This
Auto
year,
3
or
kid.
same year, yeah.
Yeah. I had that was like the one sort of naughty game I was allowed to have when it came out. I wasn't necessarily allowed to have too many rated M for mature games, but I think my mom was like, Grand Theft Auto is just not. They're not gonna be able to escape it. They're gonna be playing this thing. So
We'll make this concession so that you have to be good in other areas.
exactly, yeah. So I had that, and I had never played Max Payne until you asked me to do it. So, but I had always meant to. I had actually started it on Steam. I think I picked it up for Steam on like deep discount, like $3 or something, and then had a hard time getting it to run on my Steam Deck. And then I was like, okay, well, I have a PlayStation 5 right here. It's like $12. I'll just get it on a PlayStation 5. Playing it on my TV, all big and up-res
Whoa.
on the PS5,
That's gotta be
was
cool.
making me sick. Like,
Oh
'cause
no, not
moves-
very cool.
even though the camera was too fast, actually. Like, and I know that like bullet time's a big part of it, slowing it down, but like the movement was too
Herky jerky.
it was too herky jerky that I was like nauseous playing the game. So then I was like, okay, I have to figure out a way I'm gonna play this. Like, and I was like giving it my honest like shot because I was like, I told Connor I would do this. I'm not gonna.
There's going to be a
bail on
lot of that
Connor.
in this episode.
And then I finally just was like, you know what? I'm gonna play it on. I'm gonna see how it runs on the Ein Thor, and it worked completely fine. And I played it all the way through, and I finished it. And I'm thinking I might have to get in there and see what's going on with Max Payne 2.
Ooh. Well, thank you, Matt. Charlie, I want to turn to you next because it seems like you, from what you said, I think you have touched this game before. Walk us through your history.
And
Tell
it's
us how you
touched
touched the
me.
game.
Yeah, in it. Yeah. Who rescued who? So yes, I remember. So The Matrix kind of was like a movie that blew my mind in ways. It came out when I was 12. I remember seeing it for the first time and being absolutely obsessed with that Hong Kong style of action, and kind of have been ever since. And so then I went to a friend's house and I saw he just had this box with this computer game, and it was like Max Payne and a guy with a gun. And I was like, what's this? And then he put it on for me. And the fact that it had the bullet time, like from The Matrix, I was just like completely and totally hooked. And at the time, I'd never seen or played anything like that. I had no concept of the fact that games could be this, like, I guess, mature and robust, especially. But then I clearly never beat the game because and several years later I remember being in college and we all got copies of Max Payne 2 and played them on our dorm PCs. And I remember playing that, not sure if I ever beat that either. But then revisiting it this time, I certainly remembered all the bullet time stuff. I did not remember any of the meta stuff that happens later on that made it so similar to other Remedy games. What I did think was similar was the movies that were in it, that type of stuff. But I also was like, this is just full disclosure for everyone listening. I played through almost this entire game with God mode and infinite ammo because I was like, this is going to take me forever because I think this game is one of the most sadistically hard and cheap games I've ever played. Not just hard in like a Elden Ring way where it's like, oh, it's all by design. It is literally throw your controller, break your keyboard and mouse, frustrating in so many ways. So I played it that way, and it's an old game.
And did you say it was on your PC that you played it? Right?
I played it on
Yeah.
PC, so so it launches fine, but then there's no sound in the cutscenes, and there's also no music. And so then you have to go to a website and download something called the community fix, and you have to install that into your games directory. And then finally that stuff works. And then there are a couple of, especially one big game-breaking bugs about halfway through the game that forced me to use a code to skip an entire section of the game because of the fact that I reloaded it, I think 7 times. And every time I would run down the stairs and the guy would stop like towards the bottom of the stairs and I would just run past him. And then it would cut to like a weird diagonal angle on me, and then all the guys would just shoot and kill me. But I'm so mad. But because I had God mode on, they wouldn't kill me.
Oh.
It just was like an endless loop of them shooting and them going like, it's Payne, get him. So I was like, I got to skip this.
Oh my goodness. Charlie, it just adds to, the variety of ways we experienced this game. We got Matt playing on an Ein Thor. The first game you ever beat on your device, right?
That's right.
And
Yeah.
like I said in our group chat, I think you're probably the first person to ever beat Max Payne on an Ein Thor.
That's right. Yeah, I'm happy to wear the mantle.
We're just going to claim that. Charlie rocked it with God mode. Roxy, what's your history? Did you know about this game growing up? Or is it more of like since you become a Remedy fan, fascination? Go ahead.
It's something like I always knew it existed because I
Yeah.
was buying like gaming magazines at the time and everything. But it came out in 2001, the same year as Final Fantasy X, Halo, Metal Gear 2, Shadow Hearts, which is one of my favorite JRPGs that like 5 people know about, and like so many other games. So it just kind of like faded into the background. Looking at the cover, I assumed it was very generic, just like Shoot Man game.
Mhm.
I had no idea it was like weird and had these neat little bits and pieces to it. That there's even like some weird horror-esque sequences with like the goth club and all this stuff, the meta narrative things. I didn't know anything about that because I was just playing JRPGs and like watching anime at the time. So it was like so out of the wheelhouse of anything I would have played at the time it came out. And I mean, I remember seeing like I don't know, I'm sure like Penny Arcade or like G4 or something like kind of highlighted parts of it with like the comic book style scenes.
Sure.
Like I was kind of aware that it had that sort of graphical quality to it, but I didn't realize that was like the majority of the cutscenes and everything until playing it this time around. And now that I have played so many more Remedy games and like their style and so many of their other games, coming back to it, I'm glad that you gave me an excuse to play it. But also like play in quotation marks because I had the exact same problem that Charlie did, but even more so.
Yeah.
Where like, was it like Cagliano or something? I can't remember the dude's name who you're
Oh,
chasing.
Punchinello.
Maybe
Pasta pizza?
exactly. Yeah, my favorite guy. But you jump on top of that train car and then you're doing that rooftop
yes.
sequence. And like you can see his character model miss the jump and fall down. And then he's just like down in the ground in that alleyway and he's invincible. I can't like shoot him. There's supposed to apparently be like a helicopter and all these other things that trigger that never triggered for me. And then you go down that hallway and yeah, the dude, he's warped. So now he's right there just standing looking. And then you're trapped in a cutscene like perspective, but you can kind of move in it.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, these guys are just saying like, yeah, it's Payne, get him. And so they just like murder you. And so I tried restarting so many other times. I tried to like brute force it because you can control Payne in that sequence. I was like, okay, I can't see him, but I'm gonna move the stick and everything. So he'll like go up the stairs and away from it. So I was actually able to get out of it that time. Um, but then like the guy was still standing there. I don't know. It was so bad. I tried turning on God mode to think like, yeah, maybe if I can just like tank the damage through it and like walk further
Hmm.
the opposite direction, maybe it'll do it. Um, but it was like so late at night, I had been banging my head against a wall for like hours to make it work to begin with, because like you said, that same startup thing where like music wasn't triggering, but then I was also getting like a black screen. And then when I put that fix in, it was saying, oh, a JPEG isn't loading correctly, and then
Yes.
wouldn't load the game. Um, so like after having to do so much of that, I was like, I'll come back to this later. And then we had to record the podcast. So sadly,
Yeah.
I did not beat the game this time around, but I feel like because I like Remedy's stuff so much and because you guys are going to get me very hyped, I'm already very hyped with all we've been talking about already. But by the time we're done with this podcast, I'm going to want to keep playing it. But I might have to do exactly what you did, Charlie, and skip a segment of it just to make it work. Because it's like, man, games preservation, I, w I wish it was more of a priority for the companies that like put these games on these platforms and continue to make money off of it. Like it'd be one thing if like somebody like if this was a dead game and somebody in their basement was trying to like make sure people could still play it, but you know, you have to do community fix stuff. But it's on Steam. You cannot play this
Yeah.
game out of the box, and that's like embarrassing. They should
Yeah.
be embarrassed by that.
Well, and it has like all the 2001 shitty like quality of life issues where you can only change the graphic settings outside of the game.
Yes.
So you have to set everything before you launch the game, and if anything is like if you set the resolution too low or you set the wrong like then you have to quit the game and then you have to, you know, like reload it, change all that stuff again, which is very frustrating.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
mean, like
ridiculous.
to that point, like I played the oldest version of the game, I think, and I had the easiest time. Like
Yeah,
that shouldn't be.
Yep.
it's true. And
Yeah.
so I'm hoping that like the remake when it comes out and everything, maybe that will make them pay more attention. But it's Rockstar. We saw what they did with those GTA like remasters, quote unquote, and how much
Definitive
shorter
edition.
they were.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
like they
wasn't
don't
that
care.
wasn't rock. Well, Rockstar
They
yes,
okayed
published
it
it,
either way.
but it was the guys who made the phone versions of GTA,
Oh gosh.
the
Yeah.
iPhone.
But to your
Rockstar
point,
still
though,
had to look at that and be like, sure, make it go out.
Yeah.
That's fine. So
To your-
even if they aren't responsible for the code, they're still responsible for it.
yeah.
True.
To your point, though, it is frustrating to have to jump through like an hour's worth of hoops to maybe get it to work.
Yeah.
Which I had the same experience putting it up on my PC here and getting it to work and watching YouTube tutorials and looking at community notes. And I did get it to fully work eventually and didn't have issues after the beginning. But yeah, that was very frustrating. As far as my history goes, I don't remember being aware of this game growing up. I had a PC. We had like a family PC. I did a little bit of PC gaming, but this game just completely passed me by. I also didn't have a PS2, but I do remember at some point, even though I didn't play this, I did play a game with bullet time, Enter the Matrix. I loved that game. Played it all the way through on GameCube by Shiny Entertainment. But at some point, I must have become aware of this franchise. But I really can't pinpoint exactly when that was. It was definitely brought back in my like perspective once I got really into Alan Wake and the rest of the Remedy verse. And at some point, kind of like Matt, picked this game. I think the first two games up were in a package on Steam for genuinely, I think $3. And I've been wanting an excuse to play them for so long. And when looking at the slate of what I wanted to cover on co-op this year, I was like, I do have a big ol' Max Payne shaped hole in my history with this company Remedy that I really like, and Control 2's coming out this year. So why not just make a little excuse to play? So I played it for the first time all the way through, banging my head against the game at many times in it. I'm really excited to talk about not just the things I loved, but the deep frustrations I had and the curse words that I said. I ended up playing it all on stream too. Roxy even stopped by my
Yeah.
last stream and got to watch me just go through absolute hell and succeed, a little bit of both.
The amount of like quick saving and you have to
Oh.
do in this game is ridiculous.
Yes.
And I'm really glad that you got that on PC. I cannot even imagine what PlayStation 2 players were dealing with playing this game back in the day.
Clue. I will say too, even the way that like OBS reads programs, it couldn't read the game as a game, so I had to set it up as like a window capture or a display capture.
Oh yeah, that's
But
how I had to do it too.
you too, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like even that was finicky, but finally played it. So excited. Now I'm itching as well. I always say this, but I probably won't play it for years. I'm itching to play part 2, which I've actually heard is a much better game, but reviewed a lot worse when it came out. Which is
Probably less like revolutionary since Max Payne 1 was doing things people hadn't seen before.
yeah,
And then
maybe
Max
there's an
Payne 2 is like,
expectation.
yeah, I'm sure there isn't bullet time, but different and cooler, and there's, I don't know,
Yes.
fireworks.
Yeah.
I think physics is a big part of the second game where like
Oh.
when you shoot people, you can just keep shooting them and their body will just like continue to like flop around. And then when you like set off explosions, there's a lot of like detritus in the environment that goes everywhere. So it kind of like,
interesting.
yeah, in terms of like particle effects and things like that, it definitely is. Plus the graphics also, most of the like there are still some graphic novel panels in it, but most of it takes place in 3D rendered
Oh,
cutscene.
okay.
Wow.
That's gotta be a much different vibe then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
also,
it's
where
like
the first game like ends, like trying to figure out what the storyline for 2 would even be.
two
I
is like so
can't even
basically
imagine.
it's like Max is now back working as just a cop in the NYPD, and he is like sent.
He's got a
to
clean slate.
Yeah, that basically, yeah, he did get
So
a
he's
clean
like a
slate.
real cop.
And then he like it basically is like this like weird repetitive like the second game is a lot more of like a fever dream in terms of him continually having these encounters with it's really about him and Mona
Okay.
and like them continually running into each other and being like essentially like in love but destined for it to end in tragedy. Mona is basically like Catwoman to Batman. Like that's very much there. Like they're on different sides of the law, but they have similar objectives, and there's chemistry between them and stuff like that. But she is always kind of like fated and destined to die,
Yeah.
which she dies twice in Max Payne 1. So
Well, let's delay no further. We've been touching on some subjects. Let's get into the main discussion of the podcast. And maybe since we're already talking a little bit about narrative of 2, maybe let's start with some like discussion about the narrative of Max Payne 1. And I think that might even get into how it's presented. We did a little bit of setup earlier where this game begins with Max's wife and his baby being murdered. It's very
Yeah.
horrific. There's several moments in this game that are quite horrific and dark, and especially the way that the sound works. The sound effects will be repeating over and over, especially like the baby crying, his wife calling out for him or asking for
The fact that they
mercy.
like show the baby too, like it's a
Yeah.
little tiny arm under a blanket. It's
Yeah.
not like exploitative, but it's like just enough to be like, oh damn, okay.
And it
Yeah,
starts with that.
Yeah.
It's definitely like more what's the word I'm looking for? More like less careless than Postal, right? Like it's like Postal is like one end of the spectrum, and like something like the Last of Us is like the end of the spectrum. Max Payne is somewhere along the lines in that way, at least.
Yeah. And I feel like it's a way to try and instantly get the player like on his side to be like, yeah, let's murder them all. Revenge. Let's do
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
It's got a very John Wick kind of feel to it in that way.
I was gonna say in John Wick, there's like it's actually just a dog in this.
Yeah.
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 Not just a dog, but like that's like you know what I mean.
The dog represents his dead wife.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah, I would say also it's like because like what you eventually like he thinks he's going to find out this kind of like I think narratively satisfying culprit
Yeah.
for his wife and kids murder, but it turns out it's just a couple of junkies on Valkyr. And so that's like part of like the tragedy of like the neo-noir thing too, is that like he's so hell-bent on getting this information, even as he falls further and further into this kind of like underworld nightmare, because he's starting as like an undercover cop and his handler's like immediately murdered, right? And then from there he's investigating all this stuff. It's also weird because there's the junkies are in the game, and if you don't bother them, they won't attack
They won't hurt you. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to not ever antagonize them because I was like, they're just like having a bad time. They're people going through a bad. They don't want.
I wish I'd gone back and done it. They killed Max's wife.
Well, I mean, they were kind of sent there by someone in particular, so they kind of are part of a grander conspiracy in a way.
But they are kind of like the zombies in Last of Us, like the ones that
and also like
stand
from Payne's perspective too. Also, like like maybe killing any of them would be saving somebody else in the future, because even if they were sort of placed there by someone else, they still chose to do the actions.
What we should do with people on drugs.
It doesn't send a great message in that way, that's for sure.
Yeah, I did realize at a certain point that if you leave them alone, they don't do anything. But at that point, I already had killed every single person. I
already had blood on your hands.
Also, it's very funny that when you kill them, they go like, it's like a very different scream than the other guys.
The other guys are like, oh,
pain.
Oof.
So I like looked up a guide briefly, and in the guide it just like casually mentions killing all of them, and I was like, I didn't need to do that. I didn't need to kill. Like I walked right past him. The guide even wants me to just kill them all for no reason. And I guess it's also just like it's an older game. Every character in front of you is your enemy. You, the player, just kill everybody because that's what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's definitely got that sort of gameplay implication to it, I guess.
Yeah, it's so you're basically set up. Max is set off on this sort of revenge tour that turns into he gets in over his head, like Charlie mentioned, how I found it a little confusing because like at first, because he's like technically undercover in the mafia, learning about what they did, trying to get an answer for how did this all lead to the two junkies showing up and killing his family.
But this is how you go undercover: is you kill everyone you run into.
Make as much noise as possible.
I found it confusing because I mean this isn't a big. It's not a huge deal, but I wanted to highlight a moment of confusion I had, which is Max is undercover, but then he's like framed for the murder of, like Charlie said, his handler. So I was like, wait, did
and
he
a dude he
need to be
hasn't seen in a
undercover?
long time.
Like, yeah. So there was like I almost felt like there were too many layers to that because I bought in already that, he was framed for something. So now not only the bad guys are after him, but so is law enforcement as well.
And they don't really like touch on his history with them so much. Like that would have been an interesting thing to do, like show him doing some underhanded stuff while he's undercover, or maybe he knew Punchinello beforehand or whatever. But like they already know he's a cop by that point and they don't care. So they just want to kill you anyway.
Yeah, the story is insane. Like it's absolutely ridiculous.
Especially right out of the gate.
and I texted Connor this, and then it all kind of like clicked for me when I got to the meta elements of it, where I was like, oh, this is kind of a fever dream, because also it's just like, even in all the news reports, like everyone just knows who Max Payne is. They're just like, Max Payne is still on the loose and he's killing everybody. And everything is like, all the radio programs are about Max Payne and all of the newspaper articles about Max Payne. But this all started tonight. So how do they have all these newspapers? The late edition?
Yeah.
Couldn't happen in 2026.
Because like, I mean, that's like that's the shit I love in the John Wick movies, is that like everybody just kind of knows who John Wick is.
And you get that
Yeah,
John
you're a force of
Wickness towards the
nature.
end of the game, where like everyone on is like he's not stopping. Like no matter what, he's already killed dozens of our guys. And that one lady's like, get down there and stop him. And he's like, he can't be stopped.
And this reminded me real quick. Did anyone ever play the Punisher for PlayStation 2?
Oh yeah.
I just like remembered. I just had a flash of remembering it because I played that when I was a kid. I like rented that, and it in my memory now is similar to Max Payne. Of course, obviously, not too dissimilar of a character, I guess, going around shooting everybody. But there's a great sequence where the Punisher, Frank Castle, is in like a coffin at like a funeral, and there's all these fucking like mob guys like at the funeral, and he's like hiding in the coffin, and then you start the level, and you get out of the coffin, you just fucking start shooting everybody. It rocks. It's really really cool.
I think didn't the Punisher also lose like his wife and kid to junkies as well?
Yeah. There's look, it's a vicious cycle.
Amazing.
Don't tell cops or Blue Lives Matter people about Max Payne. They'll start putting him on their stuff, and because they'll misinterpret what he's for. Yeah.
Oh,
Although
yeah.
Max does say at one point, someone's like, I don't remember. It might be one of the first guys you're chasing down. Who, when you corner him, he goes like, "This is police brutality. Don't do it." And Max says something along the lines of, "Yeah, I got a pretty bad record of that," or something like that too.
Yeah. There's a lot of insane stuff like that.
Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, Charlie, you were talking about the narrative and how it's so it's very high octane. It's very everything feels exaggerated, but then they do get to one of the big Remedy elements of it, and which is like the meta nature of this and the discovery you make between acts 2 and 3 about how the narrative's going. You were texting me, I think, as you discovered that.
I did. I texted you and I was like, oh, okay, actually, it turned into a Remedy game and I'm kind of back on board. Unfortunately, I do think that after that, it kind of goes back to
really?
In this game, yes, it definitely just goes back to being crazy. Like that's the only sequence in the game where you get that meta narrative. But the second half of the game is where you get all the Norse stuff. So I guess that keeps the connect going because of the company. But yeah, it's like this moment in which you basically have to navigate a maze of blood while you're looking for your wife and daughter who like within this house, and you can hear them screaming, you can hear the baby crying, and you're like trying to find them, and you basically go on this very narrow blood maze that if you fall off, it's an instant death.
Oh dear.
And on God mode, if you fall off, it's not an instant death, but you will just fall forever. And yeah. And so Max goes like, oh, and then it just is just him falling. So I had to reload. But yeah, and then eventually you end up in a room where there's a letter on the desk. And when you open it, it says, Max, you're in a graphic novel. You need to wake up. And he's like, oh, this makes sense. That's why all these panels, all this stuff like that. And then you exit the door and then you're right back in the room. And then you open another letter and it says, Max, you're in a computer game. And then it talks about the HUD and all that stuff that I mentioned before. And I was like, oh, here we go, baby. And then after that, it's like, Chapter 3, time to shoot more dudes.
Yeah.
Can I tell you
back to our bullshit? Yeah.
Can I tell a joke I made on stream when I was going through that sequence? I got one. Yes, I'll take it. And I was like, okay, there's got to be a third letter that's like, Max, did you know some absolute loser named Connor McCabe is playing your game right now?
It is weird that they didn't do a 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You make a Charlie. This was something that I think was bumping for me that I wasn't quite putting my finger on, which is I also liked this meta element being introduced. It felt very satisfying as someone who enjoys Remedy's properties, but they don't really do anything with it. It's just, it's not like it sort of breaks open the narrative or breaks open the game in any way. It's just sort of a device that's there that explains, I guess, why there's this repetitive nature of the game of like, in a way, maybe it doesn't even deliberately do that, but that's how I took it of like, oh, this is almost explaining the way I'm viewing the narrative of having to reload every level 1,000 times because I die all the time. So yeah, it wasn't super. It was a cool addition that I don't think ultimately stuck the landing for me.
It's probably because they hadn't perfected that yet. And I mean, it's being published by Rockstar. There's probably so much they could get away with
Yeah.
like their weird shit.
The
I'm
first
guessing.
one was not a Rockstar, but
Well, they published it, didn't they? Or did they
no,
not?
two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this
Didn't they-
first
I
one
think
was
they did
this
publish
first one
this
was 3D. No, they published the
Maybe PlayStation
PS2 and
2?
the Xbox one later that year. They ported it.
You know, that
Yeah,
might be
PC
what I'm
was
thinking.
earlier.
Yeah,
Thank
3D
you.
3D Realms was the
That's
and then yeah, it's like a something Circle of Developers or something was like the ultimate publisher. It was like
Yeah.
Well, this is like
Um,
also Sam Lake's first game working on writing because that truck game he was doing
Yes,
voice acting stuff too. So it's like it's where he's coming up with all this weird shit. But then we
Yeah.
get to see the payoff really years later in Alan Wake.
I think for me, the I would have liked the blood trail just a little bit more if it was 1 pixel wider.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that sounds ridiculous.
it's truly Roxy. It's so thin, and in the room that you do these, there's 2 of these sequences in the game.
You have
and
to jump.
Oh God, the jumping is so terrible because some ledges you just need to go forward. Jumping
Yeah.
kills you.
Yeah.
But going forward for some reason doesn't. Like
And-
that train sequence at the
Oh
beginning.
my
of
God, the
chapter
train.
one- I died like 20 times because I was like, why am I not making this? And I had to literally look it up online where it's just you just walk.
The funny thing about the platforming in this game is that I always got excited to do it because it feels like such an add-on element and the game shouldn't be able to do it, but I had fun.
And there's fall damage, so it's just like,
Yes.
man.
I had one moment where I actually did have to reload a huge section of the game because I hadn't saved early on and I had gone through a window that you're supposed to go through and fall in some boxes, but I missed the boxes and died.
no.
Yeah, I think it's that rooftop sequence, guys,
Yep.
that we
Okay.
all were complaining
Yeah.
about.
I had a real scare when I was playing the game. You just reminded me is that because I was playing, like I said, on the PlayStation 2 emulator, and it was saving my progress regularly at the regular intervals.
Yes.
But I was also, making save states along the way. But I wasn't making that many. I would make like 2 and sort of alternate.
Yeah.
But like I was like, I don't need to do that many. I'm just
The
Yes.
quick save is very good, so you don't need as many hard saves for sure.
Exactly. And so I was doing that, but then at one point I was actually only doing 1 first, and then I started doing 2 because of what happened to me. I accidentally hit save state instead of load state when I was starting it up, and I saved it over my save, and it was like basically going to the main menu, and I was like, oh God, did I
Oh,
just
no.
lose like half the game's progress? And luckily I was just able to then load it up from where it did the
Oh,
actual
good.
save
Okay.
in the
Okay.
internal like memory card.
Oh,
But
sure.
that's when that was sort of like my last straw of like if this doesn't
Your
if I have to-
13th reason why.
it was sort of my 13th reason. And it was yeah, it was I can't think of another one. It was as if Puccinello sent some junkies to kill my family on my behalf. I was about to text you, hey, I think I can't do this. Like I was gonna get through being motion sick playing it. I was gonna get to my 3rd platform playing
Yes.
it. The fact that I thought I maybe deleted my entire save,
That is
I was gonna be
devastating.
like, hey Connor, I love you, can't do it. Sorry,
Pal.
And yet he persisted.
Look at you. Very proud of you.
Nevertheless, he persisted.
Yeah, finally,
Finally,
something for the boy.
As much as I really did enjoy the overall experience of this, and I'm not sugarcoating that just to have like a positive perspective on this show, I
Yeah.
have plenty to complain about, and I'll get to even more of it. Which is actually the turn is coming here. There are a lot of things about the experience of playing this game that make it difficult to enjoy as a newcomer in 2026. From the game not loading out of the box like Roxy was
Yeah,
talking about,
goodness.
to there not being any checkpoints. You have to make your own save states, which
Yeah.
it reminded me so much. I played the original Half-Life 3 years ago for the first time. That is the game
Oh,
this
yeah.
most reminded me of the experience of, because I was constantly making save states, or not save states, but using quick saves and save scumming in a way to do that. So
Is that just kind of like how a lot of PC shooters were at the time? Because
maybe,
like that's a complete gap in like my gaming knowledge. I never really played those. This
maybe.
is like one of the first types of these games I played.
Yeah.
The fact that I couldn't use a controller, I was bemoaning it at the beginning, but the controls are pretty natural, at least for movement and everything.
Bemoaning it.
Yeah. Oh.
I'll see you guys later.
There's like a couple control
God.
quality of life things that are introduced in Max Payne 2. One is a separate button for slow motion and shoot dodge, where in this game, if you stand still and hit the shoot dodge button, you will just go into slow motion, so you can run and do that, but you have to stop your forward momentum first, because if you have forward momentum,
Okay,
you will
that's
shoot
how that's
dodge
happening.
no matter what. And so, but in the second one, they're mapped to two different keys, so that you can be
Amazing.
running and then go into that. They also just like added, I think they added a crouch. They added like a few different things that make the experience of playing a little bit better, but it's still largely the same.
Okay.
Matt, were you gearing up for something for a second?
I don't remember. It was probably a joke, and if it's best that we just move on.
On the subject that we're talking about gameplay and stuff right now, there were things that like I really thought were charming about interacting with this game, being in this world. Some of that just came for me personally from my nostalgia of playing computer games from this era, of running in a space where a whole area is modeled in 3D kind of for the first time, and exploring, interacting with anything I could, which this game's great for that. I just like turning on a sync and having it run for a few seconds. I that does way more for me than it should. Did anyone else find themselves? By the end of the game, I was doing it less, but I would often try to interact with just about any object.
I mean, I try to flush every toilet I see in a video game. Like if just to see if they'll let me.
Every time you walk into a bathroom, there's always a guy in there going, and then he walks out and he's like, ah!
But one of the guys one time was just in his little like heart boxers.
Oh,
really?
And I was like, I don't want to kill this guy.
You meet a lot of guys taking their last dump in this game.
Yeah.
Because you're at the club that used to be, or is it it's in the second game, but in the first one, there's like a part where it's like you go to a club. It used to be called Ragnarok, but now it's just called Vodka.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of interacting with stuff, the one thing I did deliberately was it's when you're in the brothel, I turned on every bed because you can turn on the vibrating beds.
The vibrating beds.
They'll actually shake and move. The models will move a little bit too.
Yeah.
There was like one guy in a room like that. I didn't realize you could actually click on those though to make it happen yourself. Okay.
Just interacting with the world, looking at stuff. I really enjoyed that part of this game. Despite having things that were so abrasive, even actually early in my playthrough, I think it was the first day I streamed the game, because I ended up streaming my entire playthrough. I also got nauseous, Matt. And
really?
It was like a Saturday morning. I played for about an hour and 15 minutes. At an hour, I actually had to take a break because I started to feel bad and was like, is this just in my head?
Yeah.
Or am I sick? So I took a break. I came back on stream after about 10 minutes, and I was like, let's try this again. And it came back. And then I was wondering, it was in the level where, and I think it's actually the brothel level, but that's where you first start seeing the junkies who are really going through it. And I was wondering if the game was making me feel bad on an emotional level that made me sick. But I think I just had an upset tummy that morning, guys, because I never had a problem after this.
I did a stream one time many years ago when I would stream more, and I was playing Halo Reach. And I played for like 10 minutes and was like, I think I have to go lay down. Like I just get laid out by some games sometimes.
Yes.
And I think mostly it's that's just like then my body reminding me that I hadn't had enough water or something. And so I'm just like, I got to just go lay down and then like drink water so I can then play a video game.
Yeah.
I would die in bubonic plague times day one.
Yep. It was tough to get through, but I think the camera did have something to do with it.
Yeah.
That herky jerkiness of, especially using mouse and keyboard, how quickly you can zip that thing around. there are maybe I'll just open this up really quick for complaints about the game for the gameplay, which you don't have to just do them now, but I kind of opened the floodgates. One thing I'll say, because I wanted to make like a top 5 list as Matt cracks his knuckles.
Yeah.
One thing that bothered the shit out of me in this game is the blast radius of grenades.
Oh yeah.
I would
Oh
not
dear.
even be close to a grenade, but if it was like in the same room, it felt like it always took out a third of your health, if not more. And there were several moments where you're battling specific characters who are throwing grenades at specific moments. I just got so upset about that.
Painkillers are pitiful in this game. Like the amount of health that they restore is like nothing compared to how rare they are to like they're hard to find.
Yeah.
And you have to use like 2 or 3 to get yourself back down to full health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, we were talking earlier, maybe not the best message for him to be going around shooting all these junkies just because he thinks they're junkies. This guy's fucking a pill popper.
He
He
is.
sure
Yeah.
is.
You're
He just
really right.
doesn't eat a single lick of food, not even a sandwich, but this guy pops endless pills. I probably
Yeah.
had 200 painkiller caps like bottles in this game that I just it's down the hatch every time you use one.
It's and but also the painkillers too are they're around enough, but like they're not as a plentiful of a resource as like there was like some guns I just never used.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
ammo. You mean?
I know, like, yeah. So like I just had like a lot of I never needed I was never without ammo at any point really. in
My
the
thing
game
with the
at all.
painkillers is I would find myself in sequences where I was close to death because it never actually reloads checkpoints. What it does is it reloads the last time it saved the game. Whereas some games, like especially more modern games, will reload you with full health or something like that. This reloads you exactly with the amount of health you had going in, and I would be almost dead and then have 0 painkillers, and it would just be like me in a loop of getting killed, and that happens so many times. That's why I turned on God mode.
I would, Charlie, have usually for each level, the farther I got into it, I would then have 2 of those save slots for each level so that if I did progress too far and be in a spot where, you know, I have only like a shoulders through my head amount of health because it's represented by just a little silhouette in the game.
Yeah.
I could always go back to a further point where I either had more health or could get painkillers and know how to get through the level more because it asks you, it reminded me so much of games where you have to like memorize things that are coming in these encounters. And sometimes that's fun, but there were plenty of times where I found myself frustrated. I mean, Rox, you played some of this game. Were these things you were experiencing early on as well? Do you have any other gameplay takeaways you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, like basically what you guys were saying too. I wasn't experiencing it yet. I was basically gonna play until I got frustrated and then turn on God mode.
Yeah.
It didn't get to that point, like gameplay wise with the shooting and everything. But it's just you come to expect that around every corner a guy's gonna come for you. So I didn't really do the running and gunning in like slow-mo. I was doing like more slowly, just kind of like taking them out that way,
Oh,
which is
sure.
maybe not how the game was like intended to be
You
played.
mean just like walking or running through and not using your bullet time?
I didn't use it as much,
Yeah.
or like I'd maybe just try and be more strategic around corners because there isn't like cover really. There is like a crouch button, but you can't really utilize it. At least I couldn't utilize it in a way that
You
really
can only
helped
do
me.
it in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there isn't really like any waist high cover anyway that really helps you that much. But yeah, like the first time you encounter dudes with grenades, or there's like hallway or stairways with grenades that will then like ricochet down to you or something.
Yeah.
That is just ridiculous.
It's almost
Or in the building at the end in the company, there is this sequence where there are like guys on every single level and they all have grenade launchers.
Oh,
and
dude.
Oh no.
are just lobbing
I don't-
grenades at you over
Holy
and
shit.
over and over.
The only way I was able to beat that, Charlie, because I tried it so many different ways and times, was I swear I stood on a pixel where they should have seen me but didn't and just sniped all 3 of them.
Ooh,
But I
okay.
should have, but I tried that in other reloads and it just never worked.
Okay,
They
so
would
one
always,
lucky spot.
that's something you might complain a little bit about of the AI of the enemies in this game is that they're so hyper aware of where you are at all times. You can
Yeah, they will
surprise
like
them.
lure you and stuff. Or like if guys see you in a room, they'll go around the sides to like try and lure you where you have to walk through to like get pincer attacked by them because
I
they're
did
smart enough to know that. Like, God
I
damn
did
it.
read that this game has adaptive difficulty. So
Does it?
so that if you are doing really well, the AI will get harder.
Oh no.
And if you're doing
well, look
bad,
what we
it's
have
supposed to
here. I
get
guess
a
I
little
was good.
easier. But I haven't seen that in practice. I just read that that's the case.
Sure.
Okay.
But I did find, so in terms of even like almost every sequence, guys would spawn from behind me as well. Like,
Oh,
so
shit.
I'd be
I
like
hate that.
in the middle, and so like guys
I
would
know
come,
what you're
and
talking
so
about.
you were getting, so you'd be essentially like fighting your way through a sequence, and you're like, okay, I got a handle in this room, and then someone comes from behind, and they just like, they basically just stand and almost like a squirt gun, they just are just like popping rounds off into you, especially on God mode, because you can just kind of like see what they do, and like guys will just come up behind you with a machine gun and just stand there and just like empty clips into you. And it's also really funny because it almost made me like, it felt like I would have a reaction if I was a little more susceptible. Running through the room where all the tripwires were, because I didn't have to disarm them all because I was
Oh
on
my
God
God.
mode. I just ran through every single one,
so
and my
funny.
screen would just go completely red for a second, and it would just be like red, 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 red.
That's so funny.
Yeah, right there. But it killed all the guys because
Yeah.
there's guys and they're
Yeah.
shooting at you as well. But yeah, it was like there were so many times where there were sequences that made me, as you guys said, like physically uncomfortable.
Yeah. Like kind of the one examples we already gave, or
The ones you did, and then
Yeah.
this sequence, because of the fact that the flashing effects were so intense.
Yeah.
And because when you play a game on mouse and keyboard, you like, it's not like playing on your couch. You're right up at the screen.
Yes.
'cause
Yeah.
There's something to think about too with like I sometimes will think about the story, not the story of the game, but the story of how you played the game, right? So like your Max in your playthrough ran through a bunch of tripwire and set them off, and like basically got exploded 100 times, and by the end of the game is like the most shot man on Earth.
Yeah. Well, and then some innocent that's supposed to be guiding me somewhere would run right in front of my gun.
Yeah.
And then I'd kill him, and it'd be like, and it'd always be like Max being like, I made a mistake, I can't come back from it. I'm like, he ran in front of me.
Yeah.
Especially, oh my God, trying to get out of, or trying to get into the lab and having that guy come and let you into the lab.
my
And then
gosh,
when you're
yes.
getting out and the self-destruct sequence happens, I didn't realize you had to like shoot out to like blow the door open. So I just stood there and let the self-destruct sequence come down, and it just ended the game.
The amount of moments in this game where I was like, something like that would happen, Charlie, and
Yeah.
I'd be like, what did the game want me to do?
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Oh, the very last moment of the game where
Yes.
you like how difficult it was to line up the shot for me for those cables. You have to look through a fence,
no.
and you have to like move, and like you have to be so precise, because if you don't, it will hit the unseen bar on the fence that
Yes.
you're trying to do. And then I did it, and I was like, this is great. And then the timer just ran out, and then I realized you have to shoot the tower with a
tower,
grenade
yes.
launcher as well.
Roxy, do you know about the end sequence of the game?
Not gameplay wise, no. And the more you guys are talking about it, the more I'm like, maybe I don't have to actually try and
Would you
beat
like to
this.
know how it ends?
Yeah.
So
Gameplay
at
wise, yeah, go for it.
So at the very end, Max is basically climbing this tower to hunt down this woman who is kind of like the head of the company that's caused all
Yeah,
of
the
these
AOC
problems.
head lady. Right?
Yes, I think her last name is Horn, I want to say.
Yeah.
And as I'm just like honestly skimming Wikipedia trying to find her first name, but there's a sequence where once you go up this insane tower with these insane sequences, you get outside and you see she's trying to escape in this helicopter that's like warming up, and you like when you walk outside, there's these 4 cables holding this tower in place at the top of this building. 2 of the cables snap off for some reason, and then what you need to do is shoot off the other 2 cables off the
Okay.
building.
So it
kill a
crushes her.
Yeah, and then you
What?
shoot the
Helicopter?
but you also have to know to shoot the tower to do exactly that. Yeah, which
Okay.
is honestly
And one of
it
the
was sick
cables
when it
is
happened.
immediately accessible because you can just shoot it and it'll
Yeah.
detach. And then the other one, I was like, how do I get to it? And then I realized that I can't physically get to it. I have to shoot it through a fence. And it was so hard because my save reload, I think I had like 15 seconds left.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta go as quick as possible.
I had to do very similarly, and I was having
Yeah.
such a hard time getting that one that's further away. And so
Yeah.
I like pulled up a YouTube video of a playthrough just so I could see how somebody else did it. Like I was like, it's accomplishable, obviously, but like how do
Is it
you
very
do it?
pixel perfect kind of deal?
Well,
Or
I didn't
game?
realize until the
Or-
end of
It feels like
this
it.
mission that I could zoom in with the fucking sniper
Oh,
rifle.
yeah.
Oh. Oh no.
You have to hold the button.
And it
then
doesn't
that
really
sounds-
it doesn't make any sense because it's not very intuitive, and that's like the thing that I try to give grace to games like this that we're playing in in the modern day, removed from the context of the era that it was released. I feel like games now do so much better, and maybe to a fault sometimes people would complain, but
Well, you know, it changed everything.
well, 9/11, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
But
That's why games are designed the way they are now. That's why
This was July.
Aloy's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I should probably climb those
They're
steps
doing
over
their
there.
training
Yeah.
as this game's releasing, and we're doing nothing about it.
Yeah.
But like games do so much more onboarding now.
Yeah.
Like or signaling of like what it kind of wants you to do for the most part. I feel like especially in games like this game at times felt pretty obtuse.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like more obtuse than I was suspecting. Like I sort of knew what to do more often in Control and Alan Wake 2
Yeah.
than I ever did in this game.
And
I think it's because it feels like it's very set up to be like you can only do this thing. It's kind of just
Yeah.
like a corridor that feeds
Yeah.
you where you're supposed to go. But every now and then they're like, "Hey, what if you backtrack and press that button that you didn't know existed?"
What
And
if
it's
it's
like
One
how
part where
what?
where you have to like run it's like either a tractor or a train car into a door.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
And then I did it, and then you have to do it I think twice, and then the second time it doesn't bust through, and then you have to shoot it with a grenade launcher or throw a
okay.
grenade at it. And I was just standing there, and I was just like, "Well, this is gonna fall eventually," and then
Yeah.
didn't have any grenades, so I was like, "What do I do?"
Yeah.
there are moments in this game, like all these obtuse ways that you have to progress forward that were so frustrating. But I'll also be honest, I think I grew to like some of them
Yeah.
because you do feel smart when you figure them out. I remember
Oh,
being
yeah.
in the brothel and I was like, where do I even go
How do I
forward?
have sex with the prostitutes?
It's the only way to do it. And then this one is obviously filming me and selling it to as blackmail.
Yeah.
But there was a moment where I was again where I was very stuck and I was like, I don't know how to move forward. I've checked all the doors. I've backtracked all the way to make sure I didn't miss something. And I was like, wait, what if I try to shoot this like plank that's like in front of this door and you shoot it and it busted open and then you have to shoot more of them. But then I like that. I was like, oh, that felt like I solved the problem using what I know about this game. And then there'll be moments later where I'd be stuck and I'd be like, oh, there's wood panel planks on this door. And you'd shoot them and they just have like a little effect, like a visual effect,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't
Yeah,
break. So
it's inconsistent.
yes.
Like there's a similar part with these tanks that like you can normally shoot them, but this time they don't want you to shoot them and you can't
Yeah.
do anything with shooting them. You have to throw a grenade or like a Molotov at them. And it's like, why would you know to do it that way? Why doesn't it work the other way with just shooting it? So it sounds like the same thing with the boards. Like
Yeah.
it works this time, but it's not a consistent thing that works.
Or the sequence where you have to ride the crane.
Hmm.
Oh my God, where it's like
Oh,
on,
yes.
where it's like an H and you have to like it goes like it can only go this way, it can only go that way, so you're running between the different switches to move the crane, and there are a bunch of guys
Oh no.
with like sniper rifles, and you are having to shoot them and kill them before you get there. There's a bunch of guys in towers too, so you're
Yes.
actually like waiting for it to move so that they can just come into view. You can shoot them, and then there are guys on the ground that are shooting at
Yeah.
you. So-
Oh my God.
I think I ended up being like, I think the one reason why I'm more positive than negative on this experience is like because I was almost more proud of myself for finding a way to do it and proud of the way I went about things than the way the game is designed. But because the game conditions you so much to like expect or not expect certain things. Like Charlie, you were talking earlier about how occasionally you'll clear out a room, continue moving forward, and then someone else will come in behind you. So at a certain point in the game, I would, clear out a space, but be like, is anybody coming in behind? Let's just do a quick check. Because it's hard to know what in the game will trigger moments like that. But it also caused me to play the game certain ways to
They come in shooting too, so
Yes.
like they're shooting by the moment they like walk past the door.
they don't know that they're pulling the
They're
trigger
so
on their
accurate,
shotgun,
too.
but they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
I just had fun. It's almost like the puzzle of this game for me ended up being like, how am I going to work around this absurd challenge? And there'd be things like, oh, there's a moment where you're chasing down these triplets in this one like mansion. And in the first one, who is like in a room with a couple henchmen and a table overturned, I had no success trying to get in there and shoot them, but I had a couple grenades. So I was like, all right, what I'm going to do, and this is how I felt like I approached so many situations, but this is the example for this one. All right, so running in and jumping with slow motion doesn't work because then I have to reload or get up and I can't shoot. What I'm going to do is press bullet time, like start throwing their grenade, make contact with the door so that by the time the door opens, I've released the grenade into the room and I'm already on my way out, having to honestly kind of be like Neo in the Matrix to figure certain things out like that. Could be like it's fun that I figured it out, but those moments were frustrating to me. Despite mostly being, like I keep saying, positive. Maybe I just keep saying that and it's not even true. I don't even know.
Well, I mean, the overall package of the game is like quite fun to the point where even though I was talking about how frustrating it was and all of the things you guys are foreshadowing about the gameplay, I'm like, well, maybe I'll still want to do it anyway. And I think also just like it's a very endearing game in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Where it can keep you going through parts like that drive you crazy.
Yes. Like, were there things that were speaking to you in that way, whether it be presentation or other elements, Roxy? Because I definitely have a few for myself.
Yeah, I mean, like it's so into the genre of like noir drama, and it's like so over the top, and it's just like having a fun time with it.
Yeah.
Like it's very overly serious to the point where it is like funny, and like they also think it's funny. They're also taking it seriously, but also kind of having a laugh at it, which just makes it I don't know, probably one of the reasons why people still even talk about it. If it took itself so seriously, to a fault like that, I don't know, maybe we wouldn't be talking about it still.
Sure.
I also think James McCaffrey has one of the best voices I've
Yes,
ever heard
he's
in a video
great.
game. His voice acting is so good. They should, I mean, I know he wasn't like a star, but like they should have just had him do the movie. Cause like
they really should have.
He's an actor, and a very good one at that. And it is such a joy to hear him speak. And like even in his final performance as Alex Casey in Alan Wake 2, which is essentially supposed to be Max Payne.
Yeah.
That it's like hearing him is like there's such gravity and he delivers every line with like the perfect delivery.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so good.
And he kind of plays it so straight and serious in that way. That then when you have these ridiculous mobsters who are just like spouting out the corniest, funniest lines, like that juxtaposition. I don't know, it's great.
It really is.
And he has the look for it. Like, he looks like he should have been Max Payne. And he apparently is in the movie as like a cop.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
But it's like, come on.
That's a cute nod, but at the same time, it's like he was right there. Why didn't you just do it?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like both Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson were
Being
in
in The Last of
The
Us.
Last of Us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roxy, you talking about just Charlie, you were bringing up the voice acting specifically. We were kind of talking about the comic book panel presentation. Well, that was some of the stuff that I think I really did enjoy the most with no caveats. I know I've been
Yeah.
giving caveats to a lot of like the gameplay elements, but that stuff I really loved. It seems like that there must have been like a limitation for development that like almost forced them to do this sort of comic book panel style, which is why it's basically the only time we hear exposition or get narrative. But
Yeah, that's why all the faces are just people who worked on the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the photos and everything.
Yeah.
I loved it. And even from obviously you said James McCaffrey, amazing performance, even here in his first go round as Max Payne. But the funny, like you're saying, Roxy, the like goofy mobsters, the silly, almost too far New York guys, I got such a kick out of every time.
Like
Even
their
if they're-
banter
even
will
if
be
they're
really
tropey.
funny. Yeah, you'll like hear them like talking about something. Like there's one very early on where two of them are like bickering about who's gonna set the detonator on the bomb, and then they bicker about it for so long they just both get blown up.
Yeah.
Or like they're talking about movies or something. Like I was like, yeah, there's randomly like a Buffy reference, and one of them where they're talking about like why is vampire stuff always set in LA? There's too much sun there. Like, what's the point of it?
Yeah.
Or whatever. Where it's just like, yeah, they have like kind of a life to them in such a like funny little aside way that like they didn't have to do that, but they did.
Yeah. Yeah. I do want to, we're rounding out about an hour and a half here on the recording. So I do want to turn to everyone, and there's so much more we can probably discuss, but give you guys a chance to share another element or moment or thing you haven't gotten to that you want to. If you don't have one, that's fine too. But Charlie, is there anything we haven't brought up that you want to touch on while we're here?
Yeah, it isn't necessarily related to Max Payne 1, but I did want to share a little bit of info about Max Payne 3, which is the non-Remedy developed one, and the Rockstar and the differences between them. And like I would say that from a gameplay and visual perspective, it's like unmatched. Like even in 2026, it is one of the best looking and best playing shooter games, third person shooter game ever made.
What
it is
system was it like released on?
Xbox 360 and PS3.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and then PC as well.
Mhm.
So I have it on both. It's like backwards compatible on Xbox Series X, and then I
one of the
played
few.
it there. But then I also played it. I have it on Steam, which clearly allows you for much better graphics options. But so James McCaffrey is still Max Payne. But
Glad they
I
at
would
least
say
kept him. Like
Yeah,
many
I would
things
say
changed, but at least he's still Max Payne in 3.
that the story is a lot more heavily inspired by movies like Man on Fire. Max is like he is no longer a cop. He's like a bodyguard for hire. And he gets hired to protect some people. And like through the course of it, you kind of find out that Max was hired specifically because he is a degenerative alcoholic who is going to fail at his mission and then take the fall. So, but
he just can't catch a break, can he?
But then he succeeds because he keeps getting farther and farther and farther. And every point they think that he will die or that something will happen, he ends up saving the day or doing something like that that makes it harder and harder. So you're kind of cutting back between, there's a couple of sequences that take place in New York. You kind of find out why he had to leave New York due to his altercations with the mob. And most of the game takes place in Brazil.
Oh.
So most of the enemies are Portuguese. Max at a certain point, like there's a 1 year time jump that happens at some point where Max he like looks like the Max Payne we know, well, not really Sam Lake, but the Max Payne from Max Payne 2, and then eventually he shaves his head and then he is like and was wearing a Hawaiian shirt and stuff, and he is like he kind of like it's another like descent into the criminal underworld, but this time it's like the favelas of and high society of Brazil. the meta elements are gone. The meta elements are largely gone from Max Payne 2 as well. I think that once, I think, you still have it's still very neo noir. It's still very much like, his inner monologue, which you get in this game as well. Like you're getting a ton of inner monologue. But Max Payne 3 is very much like plays like a movie where like it's like big shootout, then cutscene that takes you to the next, like, but each one is like in an arena that is very carefully like set up where like there's like office buildings where you're going through and you're shooting and papers are going everywhere, and like there's so many different moves you can do. As like if anybody's played Metal Gear Solid 5, it kind of feels like that in the sense that you are incredibly nimble. And it does cool stuff where like Max he no longer has like an infinite number of weapons. It's not 2, but basically if you like have a shotgun or a assault rifle and you switch to your pistol, Max will carry the assault rifle or the shotgun by the barrel while you're shooting with the other hand. So he's always got it in his hand. And then if you want to switch to dual wielding, he has to put that down. So like you basically are like deciding which you want to do.
Interesting.
That's very cool. That's such a small little thing that like
it's really
adds
cool
to like how cool it is how you would actually handle the guns, as opposed to it being a very video gamey thing where it's like you just swap it out.
They all fit in your pocket.
Invisible inventory. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What a cool little thing.
Yeah, that's very cool. I think that like, it very much does feel like a Max Payne game to me, absent a lot of people said it doesn't because it doesn't have kind of the meta elements, also because Remedy is not involved. But I feel like it is more of like a Max reaching the bottom of the barrel and then climbing his way out of it. And I think the change of the setting you still get some New York in there, but when you get to South America, a lot of people are like, Max Payne is a very New York game. But I actually think it's kind of it's like how much better The Hangover 2 was once they went to Thailand.
Yeah. Or I mean, when the Fast and Furious gang leaves Los Angeles and they're like, actually,
they go to Brazil as well.
Now. Yeah. Brazil is the ultimate franchise reset location.
Yes.
Gotta go to Brazil.
It's the most different than anywhere.
Well, Charlie, that's a pretty good
cool.
sell for 3.
It is, yeah. I highly recommend playing it.
Okay. I just looked it up on Steam as well, and it's on my wish list.
Ooh.
There you go.
How about that?
That's the last game in the franchise, right? Or is there 4? Okay.
That's it.
As far as other elements, moments, last little things to say, Roxy, is there anything you haven't said about your time with Max Payne?
Like we talked about the photo elements to it, like with the storytelling and everything. It's such like a smart economical choice where it's like, yeah, now they don't have to animate a cutscene. So it's like, yeah, they cut a lot of corners in that way, but it's done in such a stylistic way that it's like it feels like it needed to be like that though.
Yeah.
So they probably save like a lot of money too. And again, so much of the photos they used, like a little tidbit thing is that they took reference with like a trip to New York and used a lot of those photos for the backgrounds and stuff too, which is really neat. So they were like shot on location.
That's really cool.
Which is neat. And it adds such a distinctive flair. Like I don't think any other game at the time was doing it or has really tried it since. Especially because it's like the medium of comic books, it doesn't have as much momentum.
Comic Zone, anybody?
Oh,
Have
wait,
you ever played? That's that Genesis game where you are. Oh my God, you guys have to check this out. It's so hard, but it is a very, very cool game in which you are playing through the panels of a comic and the artist is like drawing and erasing certain things as you do it.
That's
It's
cool.
like it's kind of mind-blowing for how like what it was at the time, but it is like so hard.
Yeah.
Well, that's like 2 examples. So it's like there's not a lot of games that tried to really do that kind of thing since. So I really loved it. It made it a really distinct thing. Where like, yeah, I can understand like how dev-wise they were using it to like save time, save money, cut corners. Their indie studio, it's like their second game they're doing, where it seems like a smart choice of like the tech at the time that they made, like, it did wonders for the style and originality of it. It's not exactly the same thing, but like when Silent Hill came out, the fog physics and stuff, they used it to like hide loading screen stuff, but it like has the unintended benefit of just being like it makes it more mysterious and kind of creepy when you're moving forward. Um,
You know what
so
I love how they do it now is when you
oh,
got to squeeze through a thing.
oh yeah,
Every
yeah,
game.
hiding a
Yeah.
loading screen now.
And here's a quippy line from the protagonist to the sidekick.
Yes.
Roxy, I mean, it's so hard to not, for me to not love the comic book presentation of the narrative as well. And I'm not even a graphic novel or comic book person. It felt so cool the way that it was utilized. And I think lucky for them too, this ages way better than I think if they would have even done
Yes.
cutscenes in
Like
engine or what have you.
style like ages so much better than photorealism. I don't give a shit about.
Hmm.
Style is much more important. It's always going to outlive photorealism stuff.
Hmm.
It's why so many older games still just look amazing today because they
Yeah.
made a stylistic choice like that. Even though they're using photos, but they're using it in like this specific way where like they're mapping the faces onto the character models, which you've seen a lot of indie devs do that when they're trying to emulate like PS1, PS2 style, where they're like using that same kind of technology to just map a person's face onto
Hmm.
a character model.
Yeah.
Which is kind of neat to like see new games being made with that.
Yeah, whoever on the team got to work on this, they literally did get to put together their own panels of a comic book. So it rocks.
And why isn't there just a comic that exists of this, like using the art and then making some like interstitial additional things? Like it seems like such a slam dunk.
Good question.
In the chat, you guys, I shared a YouTube video that you should just check out. It's just you can see
Ooh.
really quick the Comic Zone how the game works and how you jump between the different panels of the
Okay, yeah,
uh
dude, I've seen this protagonist before. This guy with sunglasses
yeah.
and long blonde ponytail.
And every time you move to a different panel, it'll be like meanwhile in the sewers or you know, like it's
Oh, that's very cool.
And you can
That's
even see like the
awesome.
hand. Yeah, what a cool
yeah.
idea.
Matt, I want to turn to you. Any last little bit you want to share or praise or complain about while we're here?
I mean, I honestly was like I was so grateful to get to play it. I loved the game so much, and it just sort of did remind me of what I love about Remedy games in general, and was just like really cool to see that he's always just been like this. But
Yeah.
the like obviously like the platforming stuff, like not full on platforming, but like I could have really done without uh with anything that wasn't shooting basically just didn't really work for me. Like just chasing people and like having to navigate beams and
Yes.
things
Yeah.
like that. Just like what do we no, like that's not what this is. It's it's just I just didn't really fuck with that. But like I really loved the game. I loved the performance. I love the way it looks. I love the little shows, and I can't wait to play more. I was just looking right now actually. You can only get if you're gonna try to buy it digital. It's only on Steam or uh, Xbox to get
Hmm.
Max Payne 3. You can't get it on PlayStation for some reason.
That
Weird.
is bizarre.
Yeah.
Huh. The last little thing I want to share about my experience was I really, and I kind of touched on this a bit earlier, was how much I loved like living in this space and running around in this world, even though I'm getting shot at constantly. Interacting with 3D objects, using the world, seeing how the world could at times even be dynamic of like, oh, I accidentally am shooting at this guy, but I shot, an explosive behind him. So that whole room blew up instead of me having to fight him regular. Even when it's
Hmm.
set up by the developers, they're like, we kind of hope he's going to do stuff like this. Or just the presentation of like how they made things work in this game. I'm remembering a sequence that overall I didn't even really like, but I liked how they pulled off the elements of it, which was that parking garage you have to go up
Mm.
like four or down
Hmm.
actually four or five different levels.
Oh my God,
And
that's
there's
so hard.
it was one of the most difficult parts of the game, one of the most frustrating parts, but seeing like cars drive through at some point and guys
And
jump out of it
explode.
to shoot you. Yeah, they'd explode. See, the effects were so charming. Like so much about this game is charming to me in retrospect because I find it either silly or sweet or really enjoy the way that they tried to make things work. Like the fact that the characters in the game look the way they do, of just having, what looks like a texture of someone's face plastered on a head model.
Yeah.
They looked objectively terrible, but I love them.
Well, and it's Sam Lake's like shit-eating grin the whole time.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
it's like
so
with his
funny.
eyebrow
That
up,
is
and
so
he's like,
good.
it's so
Yeah.
good.
He's great.
My favorite is when he dies or gets blown up, and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Slow motion then too. So that's the last little element I just wanted to share. There's probably more I'll probably think about it tonight and tomorrow, little things. But for my closing thoughts, despite a lot of the frustration that I had, and you can go back and watch my streams, they're still up. You can see me saying a lot of cuss words, some curse words that I shouldn't
Connor.
be saying. I know. Patrick Ellers, dear friend of all of ours, was like, Connor, I've never seen a game make you be this way. Something along
You
those
got
lines.
gamer rage.
Yes. So despite that, I'm also really thankful for the experience that I put on myself, I guess.
yeah."
That's
forgot-
really it. I really loved it. I'm glad to fill a hole to put another, I guess, trophy in my mantle of Remedy verse experiences. This was great. What were you gonna say, Matt?
I just I wanted to shout out one of my favorite names in the game, Jack Lupino.
Yeah.
The guy
Oh
named
my
the
god,
guy
all
that-
the mobster names.
They're all so good.
Yeah.
Puccinello is like it's top tier.
Yeah.
Just want to punch that guy.
Yeah.
There's like a hitman called Muerte, like
Yeah.
things
Yes.
like that. Like, of course he is.
I know that I just had you guys share your last little bits of like details. Did anyone have like a overall closing thought, having, leaving Max Payne as we're here? I know some of us kind of maybe did that, but I want to open up the floor for you guys.
When I was telling people I was playing this game, I accidentally kept calling it Mad Max, and it's also correct. Like that, this guy's pretty
Yeah.
upset. They
Yes.
should just call him
Yep.
And so am I.
that. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
overall, this game just feels like the people who worked on it had a great time,
Mhm.
and I feel like that kind of comes through, and it's another part that makes it like endearing, like all the little tidbits and things they added.
Yeah.
It's like you don't do that if you're not having fun with the thing you're making.
Yes.
And again, just Sam Lake's face, he's the guy who wrote it, and I can look at his face in the game. How funny is that? Like you can tell he gives a shit. And I love that.
Yeah, I think that I had a very frustrating time playing this game, but I will always look back on it fondly. Like Max Payne is forever endeared to me, based on my childhood experience and like, the cutscenes and everything like that. But no regrets playing it on God mode at all.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah,
it
dude,
it
that's
adds
gonna be
texture
me
to this
too.
whole discussion, Charlie.
Also, I just like there were entire levels where I just only used the grenade launcher. I was just like, because I had
funny.
unlimited ammo too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
It'll be cool to see if there's other like Remedy games that like take things from this too, that you'll be able to be like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the first Alan Wake is like very much Max Payne coded, but
Yeah.
they, instead of shoot dodging, it's the flashlight mechanic, but very much is like shooting gallery type stuff where like
Yes.
everything slows down, 5 dudes run in from different sides of the screen. And
The way it resets your inventory and stuff in that game too, it's like way
Mhm.
more arcadey than I remembered it. And there's more of
Yes.
a reason to have the narration, I guess, or like
because you're in the book.
yeah, and like you were an author, so you would be writing
Yeah.
that, which I guess like you got the neo-noir
Yeah.
like aesthetic over it, so it makes sense for Max as well. But it's just so funny to see him like making reasons to keep writing
would've-
in this way.
It would have been so cool if Sam Lake knew he was going to be making a game about Alan Wake, and then we find out that Alan Wake had written this, like we get it in Alan Wake 2 with Alex Casey, but if like even back then he was like, they were in a novel written by a guy named Alan Wake, and maybe he never even intended to do anything with that. He was like, what if I made a whole game about the guy who wrote it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, how many of these are little things that, like, obviously he probably didn't plan it, but if it's a narrative structural thing that he really likes, you can make it make sense.
Right.
There's even like I think it was a radio thing talking about like doubles, like people having
yeah.
doubles and stuff. That was like,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
always loved that. And also David
Mhm.
Lynch is like crazy about that
Yeah.
stuff too. So of course he,
Well, and it's like Mona with Mona's twin.
yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's going to do it for our discussion on Max Payne. to close things out, I just want to get some plugs. I know we plugged up top, but if you guys want to plug anything on your way out, this is a great time to do it. Matt, I'll turn to you first. Thanks again for doing this, buddy.
Hey, of course.
Again, first person to ever play this on an Ein Thor. I'm claiming it for you. What do you want to plug, buddy?
I'll get a plaque made to commemorate the occasion. Just get played, really, and I guess social media for whatever that's worth. I'm at Matt Apodaca on not all, but most platforms.
Ooh, maybe I'll put your Blue Sky in the show notes.
I gotta get more people over there on my Blue Sky.
Well, thanks again, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Charlie, what do you want to plug, buddy? Thank you for being here. This was great having you.
Hey, thank you for having me. I want to plugging in your dang phone, making sure you always have batteries, because you never know when the power's going to go out. And if your battery's running low already, in an emergency situation, you're going to be in deep trouble. So I want to make sure everyone is close to a power source, just in case.
Okay. Feels, you don't know this about me, but I've been having trouble charging my phone lately. And I got a bee in my bonnet this afternoon, and I basically picked out all the lint that was in the charging port, guys.
And it works
Send you
great.
a picture after this.
Yeah.
It's a crazy amount of lint. Roxy, what do you want to plug?
You do walk around with you get handfuls of lint and you put it in your pocket.
Like
From your dryer. Yeah.
Yes. How about you, Roxy? Thanks for doing this. It's been great having you on this one. I appreciate your valiant effort of turning this game on. You're gonna have to keep us posted if you make it farther.
I do feel like a bit of a failure since I didn't complete the game. So in addition,
I cheated.
Hey, that's gonna be what I'm doing.
I
too.
sort of
you
did
at least
too,
beat
but
it.
And I'm perfect. I didn't need cheats, but that's cool. So sorry, go ahead.
Shoot, what was I gonna say?
Talking about,
I don't remember what I was
plugging?
gonna say. Oh yeah. Aside from just like my Twitch and also my Blue Sky being Red Mage Roxy, come say hello. The way I was able to fill in the gaps from not completing it is actually from one of my favorite YouTubers called Grimbeard, which he did really good videos on both Max Payne 1 and 2, which I highly recommend. Go check out his stuff. His stuff in general is great, but like the 2 videos he did on this series are incredibly fun. And a lot of detailed stuff. That's how I knew about the timeline with the Matrix thing. That wasn't me. I can't take credit for that. That was from his video. So
maybe I'll have to watch that as I go make dinner in a few minutes. That
I
sounds
recommend
pretty fun.
it, and he might be your new favorite because then you'll have years of videos.
You're going to end up putting bullets in your spaghetti sauce.
No. I didn't mean this to be like this. Well, thank you all. I'll go ahead and just close this out with some plugs of my own. The cover art by Call Me By Your Game is done by the artist Glenn J. You can find his Instagram in the show notes. The show is produced, edited, and the original music that you hear to open and close this podcast is done by Jeremy Schmidt. You can follow me on Blue Sky and Twitch if you'd like. You can also follow the podcast on Blue Sky, Instagram, and on YouTube, which might be how you're listening and watching this episode. And if you don't already, check us out on YouTube. And lastly, if you're not already a patron, check us out at patreon.com/supernpcradio, where this is a monthly bonus that I do near the end of every month. I don't know what I'm covering next month because it's up in the air, but I know some of what's coming this year, so look forward to these overview episodes with some of my favorite people to talk about video games with. But you can find a lot of our stuff for free if you don't have the dough. Well, thank you for listening to another episode of the Call Me By Your Game co-op series. We will see you on the next one.